Hi, welcome to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with San Diego business and the people that make it happen. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. The focus of our show is to find the businesses that make San Diego America's finest city and see what makes them tick. We'll be looking at both for-profit business as well as the nonprofit sector. Joining me on the show are our co-hosts, Urban Myers, founder and chairman of Challenged America, an adaptive and therapeutic sailing program for the disabled, and Andrea Kaye, host of The Andrea Kaye Show. Today on Close Up, we'll be talking about our new book, Stop Bleeding Cash, the 6 ways people lose money without even knowing it and how to stop the bleeding, focusing on taxes, home loans, credit and credit card debt, healthcare expenses, business expenses, and insurance premiums. You work hard for your money. Wouldn't it be nice to know how to keep more of it in your pocket instead of letting it go to the government, the banks, and the insurance companies? Also in focus today on Close Up is an in-depth interview with our co-host, Urban Myers. His background will surprise you, including some tidbits on how he came to hold the world's speed record for ski racing for the blind. Yes, you heard me correctly, for the blind. Finally today, we'll wrap our minds around our other co-host, the always interesting and enlightening Andrea Kaye. For those listeners who want to be heard, feel free to call my office at 1-800-341-5433. We'll be happy to discuss any topics that are relevant to your San Diego business. You can also email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com or visit us at my website, www.barrywaxler.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's get started. Welcome, Andrea and Urban.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Great.
Thanks so much, Barry.
Great. So,
Well, you've got a lot of interesting stuff that you mentioned there. I'm fascinated to hear about your book, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show.
Great. Love to.
And nobody writes a book unless they've, had a lot of great experience and a lot of skill and stuff behind them. So tell me a little bit about your business itself, your company, how you got it started.
Great. Well, I started in business back in 1986, and the name of the company is Universal Financial Consultants Corporation. What we do is we teach people how money works. It's a whole different subject, a whole different way to look at it. Most of the people in our business work on specific topics such as money management and insurance and planning. We basically take the plan down to the very basic level to help people in virtually any walk of life.
That expression, how money works, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. I mean, what does that mean? That's interesting. You got my attention with that.
Well, it is interesting because when you learn how money works, you learn how the institutions work. And how can you, if you think about it, when you go into your tax man and you want to get your taxes done, how many people speak the same language he does? Now, granted, he does speak English, but it doesn't sound that way when you sit down with your tax guy, does it?
No. It's kind of like me taking my car into the auto, repair guy. I have no idea. I don't speak his language. I don't know what a carburetor is.
Yeah, and most people don't know that either. But, once you learn how the tax guy language comes out, then you learn how to deal with them. It's the same thing. It taps into the institutions of the world. Why do you think all the institutions, be it the money management firms, the banks, the insurance companies, why do you think they hire all of the best attorneys in the world? Okay? Because they want control of the situation. Now, once you learn how they work, then you can learn how to deal with it, and you can work on their level at your pace.
So you don't necessarily have to learn that language, just understand how money works in the institutions.
You get the basics down. We don't need anybody that gets more than the basics down is probably going to become a professional in the business, and not too many people want to do that. So just learn the basics of how money works. And which means you're learning the same things that the institutions have known for years. These are all the little secrets that have been out there forever. And if you paid attention, you could figure it out yourself. But when you hire me to help you, I'll teach you everything you need to know before you even get started.
Right, and most people don't have the time to pay attention and to learn it on their own. They need somebody who's dedicated the time already and the years of studying this to narrow it down, like you said, to them.
Right, absolutely.
So, given the fact that you've done this for so many years, so much so you're so successful, you've written a book. Why start a radio show?
The radio show is because we want to get to know San Diego business and get the people behind the business, get to meet everybody up close and personal, because business is all about local operations. Okay, It's easy to see the Walmarts and the Costcos come in from wherever they originate, but we like to see local business, people that have started it here, that have done it here, and that continue to prosper here. And we want to promote that on the show every single week.
Mm-hmm. How does that tie in to your practice? Because you must understand business in general in all different industries in order to understand how money works in all the different institutions. Is that how you got interested in businesses and wanting to do a show about it?
Yes. Well, everything starts with the business environment. Businesses drive the economy, and the economy feeds off of local businesses. So the more we allow the conglomerates to dominate what we do, the more that we're going to lose control of our own city here. So in San Diego, we want to see businesses that have been founded by local people. We want to talk to them. We want to expand on them. And we want to give them the opportunity to compete in the environment that has really gone to the conglomerate, the large companies out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you mean conglomerate?
The conglomerate's the large company, large corporate world. We deal with the corporate environment, okay? The corporate environment is one that you have to be incorporated in order to survive in this world today. You have to operate under acceptable guidelines for business today. Well, you know, the conglomerates, the large multinational corporations, or at least the large national corporations, all have the system down. We want the little guy to be able to compete in the big guy's world.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your practice, do you deal primarily with business owners, or what types of industries and people do you work with the most?
I typically deal with business owners and the executives that run the business. We want to take the stress out of the financial environment that the small business owner has, and the more they have to focus on the things that we do, the less that they can focus on what they need to do. So the more we can help them, the better off everybody will be. Mm-hmm. Okay, so keep them in good financial straits. Make sure that they're doing everything that they need to do that's not in their realm of expertise.
Now, is it really today all about retirement planning? Is it also about estate planning? What's really the focus these days, or is there one focus?
Well, there's no one single focus. There's essentially four avenues for people to focus in, either personally or from a corporate standpoint. You have business planning, you have retirement planning, you have financial planning, and you have estate planning. And each one is one step closer to the next.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot to have to try to help people narrow it. You said you narrow it down for them and reduce it down and make it simple. Mm-hmm. With all those different options for people to focus on. I mean, people really need somebody like you to help them get to the core and narrow it down, because it's so overwhelming, the different options that are out there for people, whether they own a business or whether it's a family-owned business.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at how simple it gets once you get the basic concept down of how money works. If you understand how money works, you understand everything that you need.
How much time does it take to get somebody to understand how money works? I mean, is this something that people need to like spend hours and hours and weeks with you and endless meetings?
No. Just a few short meetings and to develop a plan. We can give them written guidelines, oral guidelines. We can give them everything that they need to focus on what they need to. And it's developing a plan, because you'd be amazed how many people operate from the seat of their pants and don't look at what's behind them. Okay. Mm-hmm. What we want to do is we want to create a method that the first thing is we want to increase the spendability of their money.
What does spendability mean? Does that mean I get to go to the mall more?
No, it means you get to look at the dictionary and see the word that I just put in there. But
talk about learning a new language.
Yeah. So spendability it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you can take to the bank or take to the store or take to wherever you go. It's what you can spend. We'd all love to have $1 million come in every time we look down, but it's not the $1 million that counts. It's what you can spend out of that $1 million. So if we maximize everything you do, we'll maximize your spendability.
And you're able to do that with people who have a fixed income, as well as people who are business owners whose income might fluctuate?
Well, my goal is to really increase the spendability of your money by 10%. Some people we can do 20%. Some people we can do a lot more. And some people we can do less. If somebody's on a fixed income, it's going to go down because there's not a lot of options out there. And this is why we focus on the small business environment. If we can teach the small business environment how to manage their affairs in a little bit better fashion, it doesn't take much to hit that 10% number.
So you really bring so much to the table that's beyond what I think of with a typical, money manager or financial planner. I mean, you really bring a much more comprehensive approach to everything, as opposed to looking at some, returns or somewhere on a sheet and just recommending one tip,
right,
or account.
Yeah, and we typically when we look at how people manage their money, rate of return is the last thing that we look at. We want to look at spendability, and I keep coming back to that same term, because we want to maximize what they have to put wherever they want to put it. Okay, it's easy to find all the tools to try to get the best rate of return. It's that's putting the cart before the horse. We want to maximize their money.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk more about your book later on in the show. Does your book talk about the spendability and what that means?
Absolutely.
Do you delve into that?
Yeah, the book is all about spendability. It's all about maximizing the money that you make. It's more what you can keep and what you can spend than what you make, because everybody focuses on how to cut cost. What we do is we go to the biggest costs out there, and we focus on the biggest down to the smallest, and we know how to get right to it.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more about the book later, and I also can't wait to hear more about Urban.
Great.
We're going to be talking about him coming up.
We're going to talk to Urban when we come back from break. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, and we're talking on financialnewsandtalk.com as well.
This is the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. If you're hoping to make money renting out single-family homes, where is the best place to do it? RealtyTrex says parts of Pittsburgh, Cleveland, New Orleans, Gainesville, Pensacola, St. Louis, and Milwaukee are among the most promising markets for that. Along with the company Rent Range, it looked at places where purchase prices are low enough relative to rents to generate a solid return. RealtyTrex Vice President Darren Bloomquist says it also looked for markets that hadn't already been picked over by big investors.
It had to be markets where those institutional investors represented 5% or less of sales, and so it's not a saturated market. And then to make sure that we were looking at markets that are not in economic distress or in trouble, we did set the threshold for unemployment at 7.5% or less.
Other regions on RealtyTrac's Hidden Gems list include the D.C. metro area and Huntsville, Alabama. That's the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini.
Hi, welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get up close and personal with San Diego business and the people that make it happen. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, and we're here with our co-host today, Urban Miyares. Hi, Urban.
Hey there, Barry.
How you doing?
Okay, ready to have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Okay. So, Urban, let's talk a little bit about you. What's the name of your charity?
Charity is the Disabled Business Persons Association, and we have 5 programs. And I think in San Diego, we're most well known for our Challenged America adaptive sailing program.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, it's a program that started with 2 disabled veterans 36 years ago, 1978. And they just wanted to go sailing. They were both in wheelchairs, and no one wanted to take it. They wanted to give them a ride on the boat, but not teach them how to sail. So those 2 guys, like disabled veterans, not going to listen to orders. They went out and bought a sailboat. And as they say, the rest is history. And I got, fortunately, in the 1980s, was introduced to them. We went sailing, and we've set some amazing marks. And we're considered the pioneer in the world of adaptive sailing right here in San Diego.
Yeah, I remember the day that I met you back in 1992. And we were out, I was called by one of the partners at Challenged America, Bob Hediger. And Bob had asked me to come sail with you that weekend, and little did I know what I was in for. I got there, I was the best ballast on the boat, while we had Bob, who's a paraplegic, navigating one way, Don, the quadriplegic, navigating the other way. And
oh dear.
My partner here, our co-host, Urban, was the one running all over the boat doing the line work. And the crazy thing about Urban is, for the listeners, Urban's completely blind. It was a poor pun, but quite the sight to see.
Well, we do that as an example. That's the definition of disability versus handicap. You had a handicap.
Yeah. Thank you. I still do. So,
have you been back out with him, though?
You know what? I haven't been out in years, and
I got better.
Yeah,
you did?
That's good. That's good. Well, you know what? I felt pretty safe on the first run. Anyway, tell me. Let's go back before you started the charities. What did you do in business?
Well, really, I started business accidentally. I came in through the back door. I returned from Vietnam, a catastrophically disabled vet. They told me at most, this is 1968, at most I'd have 20 years left to live. And that if I ever got a job or able to, I'd be lucky to work in an office. That's all I could possibly physically do. Well, my wife and I, we got married just before I went to Vietnam. We decided, well, if there's only 20 years left, let's live one day at a time. And we started our first business and failed. And matter of fact, the next 3 businesses we failed, and that's when I got angry. And I said, one of these days I'm going to prove someone that's considered catastrophically disabled can make it in an able-bodied world of business. I was going to help other disabled vets. And fortunately, in the last 45 years, I've owned 23 different businesses, and I've been lucky in some of them. And 1985, I helped a couple disabled veterans and told my wife, I'm having so much fun. And I kept that promise I made years earlier and started the charity to help initially disabled vets. Wow. Show them that if self-employment could be a possible way for them to be productive again.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned back from the time you were disabled back in the Vietnam War. I think that it would be pertinent to tell your story a little bit about how you found out you had diabetes.
Well, primarily, I was an infantry platoon sergeant, 9th Infantry Division, U.S. Army, working in the Delta at the time. I was one of those in the Vietnam era that knew the military back then. I was one of those shake and bake sergeants, platoon sergeants. And at 20 years of age, leaving men into combat, and I started getting sick, terribly sick. And in a 2-week period, first time I'd come into sick call, they said it was the heat. They checked me for malaria. I didn't do it. And you go out and you come back. Second time, it was battle fatigue, seeing too much combat. And then the third time, within a 2-week period, they said it was peptic ulcers, and they gave me Maalox and Jaisils and shipped me back out. And when we went out that third time, after I was warned to stop going to sick call, they thought I was malingering. They thought I was 20 years old. I wasn't even shaving yet. And, a lot of stuff was going on. We went out in the field. The enemy hit us in an ambush. And the last thing I remember was falling face first into a rice paddy And I woke up 2 days later in a Saigon military hospital where they told me that I had just come out of a diabetic coma. And basically what happened was that my platoon all got killed. I was in a body bag for 2 days before an alert medic who was unzipping body bags and toe tagging the dead soldiers still found me breathing. And 38 years later, I found that medic, Brian Leet, who lives in Cambridge, Minnesota, and with the help of the Disabled American Veterans, the local chapter here in San Diego, Chapter 2, individuals there were just wonderful in helping and connecting us with the national headquarters of DAV, and it's a whole story. So I had diabetes, but don't forget, it wasn't until like in the late 1970s when they started talking about Agent Orange. I couldn't walk. I had problems with my vision, and Agent Orange is a lot of the other medical conditions I have, such as nerve damage in my legs and blindness and other things, not necessarily related to diabetes, although diabetes is a contributing factor. What's called chemical-induced diabetes, presumed to be caused by Agent Orange. So there's a number of factors involved. And when I was in the VA, not the VA, but Valley Forge Hospital in Pennsylvania, when I came back, they said, I was so brittle diabetic they couldn't control me, and they didn't understand what was happening with me. And that's where they gave me that shortened life expectancy.
That's amazing, Urban.
Yeah.
You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, and we're talking to Urban Mayars on financialnewsandtalk.com. So, Urban, that is just an amazing story.
Yeah, God bless that medic, huh, for paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
Did you wiggle your toe or something? I mean, how did he realize that you were still alive?
Combat medics are trained if there's a whole body to check for a pulse automatically, and he found a faint pulse. And,
wow.
After 2 days in a body bag, it still amazes me how I'm alive. But in the body bags next to me was my whole platoon. None of them came back. I'm the only one who came back alive.
Incredible.
So I came back with a lot of anger and all of that.
Well, but, you seemed like you channeled that into a lifetime of great work.
Well, that's, I came back with three problems. And, one is, why am I still alive? Second one, what am I going to do and support my wife and hopefully a family, which we did have. And third, who was that medic, whoever it was, that found me still breathing? And I was able to solve each one of those issues, one after another, after the early years of much of the post-traumatic stress that we know of today, the anger, the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment that we all get, the paranoia that's associated with it. And that's why business was so great for me, because I was able to control my environment. And, today veterans are coming back on GI Bill, where there's a greater than 80% dropout in school. Less than 3% of the veterans today that are going under the GI Bill graduate. I mean, that's shameful, but they're not yet ready for it, whether it's maturity or still the shock of getting back into society. And, of course, I travel around the country talking to the troops about the transition. And, of course, I bring up self-employment. They say, well, I don't like people. Well, start a business. You can start a home-based business. Well, I don't like people looking over my shoulder. No, as an owner, you look over everybody else's shoulder. It's a transition for many of us. And the education in business you can learn as you grow, as long as you're not grandiose about the whole thing. You want to be an instant success and have 500 employees. I've had companies with over 100 employees, and I realize I'm a micro business. I don't like large people. I don't like dealing with other people's problems. Human resources and all of that. You put out more fires the bigger you go than running the company. And I have enough of my own problems. I don't want to handle other people's problems. Yeah.
Hey, tell us a little bit about the Disabled Business Persons Association, which was your original charity you started.
Yeah.
Why'd you start that, and what does that do for people?
Well, basically, it's volunteer. We're all volunteers. Everybody that's in there on the business side. We have 5 programs on the business side are successful in business and also disabled. Most of them are veterans. And it's a way to give you the real information of business in doing business with a disability. how I would do a disability, being classified as deaf-blind. I can't see anything. I'm hard of hearing. Nerve damage. I was in a wheelchair for a while and used a cane for many years. All these, how do you compete in the able-bodied world? How I would run a business is completely different than someone else running the same type business. So when you go to organizations or education, they talk to you about the proper ways of doing business. They don't talk about the personal aspect of it, the personal side. And so when they say, go out and do market research, yeah, I'm going to get into a car right away and start it up and go out and do my research. Ain't going to work that way. No. So how would I do it to compensate it? And this is, what I teach people after, all these 45 years in business, having a number of business failures, but also having some successes of companies that have done extremely well, all in different fields. And it's exciting to me. I probably talk more people out of going into business than I do into business, because the worst thing I could do is encourage someone to start a business who is not yet prepared to compete in the able-bodied world of business. And that's what it is. And the number one reason is for business failures, or depending on how you define failure, I define it as being forced to close owing others money.
Yeah.
To me, that's what a failure is. The number one reason for business failure is death or disability of the owner. Mm-hmm. It is.
Right.
Or why do most people sell their businesses? Disability, they're diagnosed with a heart condition, cancer, or even diabetes, and they're told that they have to change their lifestyle. And, of course, when a business is a fire sale on a business because the owner's sick, they've lost their value, the business. And this is where, Barry comes in and helps out. And, and I come in to support them, to show them how they could run the business. I love the example of a veteran that came back from Iraq and quite disabled, a head injury, traumatic brain injury. His IQ is down. And his wife said, what are we going to do? We have to sell her. Well, we taught her how to run the business. And she now is running the business and doing better than before her husband went to Iraq.
Huh?
Yeah,
Good for her.
And I've talked with thousands and thousands of veterans and others with disabilities about business, and it's amazing, the ones that make it, all you have to do is put them on the right track and get out of the way. Mm-hmm. Once they understand how to manage and control their health, then they're gone.
Great, Urban. Well, we're getting ready to go on a break. When we come back, I have a couple more questions for you. But you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get it close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that make it happen.
With the Bloomberg Small Business Report, I'm John Tucker. The American Institute of Certified Public Accountants is urging lawmakers to revise the Marketplace Fairness Act aimed at boosting collection of sales tax on Internet-based purchases, including exempting more small businesses from collecting the tax. The lobby, on behalf of certified public accountants, wrote to the chairman and ranking members of the House Ways and Means Committee, suggesting lawmakers allow retailers with substantially more than $1 million in annual remote sales, the threshold written into the Marketplace Fairness Act, not to collect the sales tax. It's one of several recommendations made for legislation that would allow states to compel out-of-state online retailers to collect sales tax on their behalf. The organization says sales and use taxes are very complicated, with variations in exemptions and methodologies among some 9,600 state and local taxing jurisdictions. And that's the Bloomberg Small Business Report.
Hi, welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that make it happen. I'm Barry Waxler. I'm here with our co-hosts Andrea Kay and Urban Miars. Andrea?
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm thrilled to be here.
Good.
And what a story Urban was telling before we went to break about being in a body bag for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
Glad you're still with us. Glad they realized that you were alive, Urban.
When did they realize
I
it?
said I'm glad that they realized you were still alive.
Well, it's one person who knows me in the Veterans Administration, when he met Brian and heard the story, said, why didn't you zipper him up? He's caused more trouble.
Well, Well, Urban, one of the stories that I love to talk about is how you, as a disabled, let's say a disabled veteran, got involved in skiing. How do you start skiing when you're blind? And then
why would you do that?
True, true. And then tell us a little bit about you hold a record for skiers, don't you?
Well, I'm the only one still alive, so that's what I say.
That helps.
Yeah, well, skiing's interesting. I live in San Diego because I don't like the cold. I grew up in New York City, went to upstate New York where New Jersey and upstate New York where I started my first businesses right after coming back from the war. Then went to Albuquerque where I had my very first business success. In 1977, wound up in San Diego after selling my business in Albuquerque. And so the cold is not my love, and San Diego's my love because of the weather and my love for sailing. And the Veterans Administration in 1987 said, we're having the very first winter sports clinic for disabled veterans in Grand Junction, Colorado. How would you like to go skiing? No. I've never been on a pair of skis in my life. I can't see anything. I don't feel my feet. I don't hear well. And they want me to go down the mountain. Talk about PTSD.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, anyway, I went due to the encouragement of a number of veterans I knew, disabled vets, and we went there, and we had a good time, but I didn't like skiing. I didn't enjoy it. However, they said, you're doing good. You have a lot of potential. And I said, yeah. The pat on the back when you're disabled, you're
right.
Inspirational, you're motivational. And for those of us with disabilities, many of us have calluses on the back of our backs from everybody patting us and saying how wonderful we are. Well, anyway, I went the second year, and I got a little bit better and finally made it down the intermediate slope, only falling maybe a dozen times. But they really thought I had a unique balance ability. And 1989, I started training, and everybody beat me on the race course when I started racing. And I went to one event by the Paralympic team, United States Paralympic team. And the Paralympics is an event that athletes with disabilities do 2 weeks after the regular Olympics in the same venue. Most people think the torch goes out, but it doesn't go out after the regular Olympics. You have the Paralympics afterwards.
So you're going down the same hills?
Well, that's when I got into competition. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
And in 1990, I got a little bit better and became the world's fastest skier. And then in 1991, 90 and 91, with the help of a lot of local San Diego skiers that were very good skiers, who guided me. What they would do is I'd wear a headset, of course, with the helmet, and they yell, left turn, right turn, go, 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 stop.
Stop now.
So you really need to know the difference between your left and your right out there.
Well, I was very fortunate. I had Bill Johnson, who was the first American ever to win a gold medal in a downhill in Sarajevo, guided me in a couple of races.
Wow.
And with Bill guiding me, I've been clocked at 63 miles an hour on a hill.
Wow.
And I'm in San Diego's Hall of Champion Museums. I'm the first disabled athlete in the disabled athletes category. And I'm quite proud of that, to be frank. And everybody asks me, do I still ski? No. I still don't like it. And they always ask me to do exhibitions and all, but I've done a few. I don't mind recreational, but the expectation when you reach that level, they expect you to come down the mountain at 500 miles an hour. And for me, being blind, the whole thing is based on my guide. Right. And my guide definitely has to ski faster than I do. Otherwise, it's not very pretty.
Now, were you on one of those cool little chairs that I've seen some people use, or were you standing up?
I'm standing up, and I'm
gosh.
using what's called outriggers, and they're like Canadian crutches. Those are the crutches that wrap around your forearm and you grab on the handle, and they cut the first 15 inches of a downhill ski off and put them on the bottom of those crutches, and then you wear your regular full skis. So actually you have 4 skis on the ground, and that's supposed to make you slower.
Oh my gosh, 60-something miles. See, I'm a skier, and I cannot even wrap my head around the fact that you did that. That is crazy dangerous.
What's amazing to me is if you look at skis today, I'm an intermediate skier at best, but to see the way they've adjusted the equipment and put everything together, and Urban did this back in the 80s, early 90s?
Late 80s, yeah. 90.
Long
I retired in
before all that,
91,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in Albertville in 1990, they wouldn't let me ski because I had broken my leg. See, I had nerve damage, so I broke my leg, skied all day with the broken leg.
And didn't know
it. But because I had a cast on my leg, still beating everybody, they wouldn't let me in the Paralympic. And then when Lillehammer came around, the following Paralympics or Olympic Games, they were not going to have any total blind skiers. Now, when you're total blind in competition, you wear your goggles and they put duct tape across your goggles. So no peeking allowed. Yeah, so it's you're total blacked out. There's no question.
You're a daredevil.
Yeah.
How'd your wife feel about you doing this?
She doesn't ski. She stays at the lounge and says, "There he goes."
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't sail either, and unless it has Holland America on it, will she get on the sail on a
Oh, now
boat?
that's my kind of girl.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, and we're talking to Urban Myers on financialnewsandtalk.com. Urban, last question I have for you is talk a little bit about the Transpac race. You just competed. How many Transpac races have you competed in?
Well, I've skippered 2 boats in the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race, which is from Los Angeles to Honolulu, Hawaii, 2,225 nautical miles.
Yeah,
That's
amazing.
It is an exciting race. See, that was our goal when we started Challenged America. We did a video in 1991 for the city of San Diego Arts and Entertainment. It's called City Video Awards, and we won the national award. With that, about the city of San Diego, it's called Local Heroes, Challenged America. In that, we set a goal on Challenged America to one day do the Transpac. And this is one of the top 5 races in the world. It's a legendary race that happens every other year on the odd years. And it's no crew of sailors with severe disabilities had ever done it. There have been people with disabilities that have been crewed with able-bodied people on the race. So in 2003, thanks to a donation by a wonderful couple in Coronado, California, Brian and Suzanne Hull, they donated their 40-foot racing sailboat to us. We named it Bequested in honor of their donation to Challenged America of their boat, of which they got a very nice tax write-off, right, Barry?
Very
Just
good.
And
They did.
and with that, we put a crew with severe disabilities. We're talking quadriplegics, amputation, paraplegia, blindness, rheumatoid arthritis, with secondary conditions of cancer, heart conditions, and so forth.
Wow.
And we did the race and did it respectably. We were not the last boat to finish. I think we're out of 50-something boats, and overall we were about 32nd.
Wow.
And not bad. And we did it again in 2005 and finished a little bit better in that race. And quite proud of it, and set a standard, or as they say, raise the bar a little bit. Our Challenge America program really is therapeutic. We start people, introduce them the experience of sailing, and then graduate them to larger boats, to eventually and hopefully race against people who do not have disabilities. Because just like we do in business, we have to be able to compete in the able-bodied world. And so we really don't promote them, although many do compete in disabled sailing events around the country and in Canada. Our goal really is to get them that experience so that they feel good about themselves, self-confident, and go back to school, start volunteering, look for work, somehow be productive members of the community again rather than just sit home.
Yeah. How long does that take, that Transpac race?
It took us 13 days both times, a little over 13 days at sea, yeah.
Right, 13 days at sea. And Urban, the last race you went on, it was a crew of 2, Urban and Dave Hopkins. What was Dave's disability?
Dave has a hearing impairment. He's a veteran. He was in the Navy, worked on helicopters, and he gets the ringing in his ears and
Right.
On that. But we work good together as a crew. We've done a double-handed race around Coronado Island as an example. And all.
That's amazing to me to see a crew of 2 go from Los Angeles to Hawaii, and both of them have serious disabilities.
Well, Barry, with today's technology and new designs coming out, and people with disabilities doing so much more, whether it be in sports or in life in general or in business, it won't be long before you see someone total blind by themselves sailing around the world. Mark my words. Wow. Total Blinds have already done single-handed racing from Los Angeles or San Francisco to Hawaii. And this was before GPS and today's technology. Frank Decker did it, I believe, in 1984. But it's the individuals with disabilities, whether they're born with a disability or it happens later in life, the disability no longer should be a factor for them to quit life. They still can continue. They'll have to continue in a different way, regardless of what they do. But with today's medical science, especially, San Diego's the launching pad for medical companies and biotech and all of that. It's just natural that people with disabilities will not have the high unemployment rate that they currently have.
Yeah. Well, tell us real quick, how can we, be it my company or the general public, how can we help Challenged America?
Well, you can help Challenged America in a charity. Of course, every charity needs money. But we need things, including, donations and gifts and all this expertise and all. Maybe there's doctors out there, as an example, who are involved with research. We firmly believe sailing is a tremendous vehicle to alleviate certain chronic pains. We have a gentleman in his 90s with Alzheimer's. His deterioration or his memory loss seems to have slowed down quite a bit. He's a member of the San Diego Yacht Club, too, has been for many years. And I go out sailing with him in a 2-person boat, and he knows exactly where to come back into the dock again. It's just amazing. There are just so many. But, just contact us, and, we're an all-volunteer. Every penny a donation that comes to us goes right into the program. 100% goes to serve thousands of people a year through our 5 programs.
That's great, Urban. And I want to thank you for being with us. Of course, you're going to be with us every week. So that's great.
This is fun. I mean, this is not the drag radio. We're having a lot of fun. I wish everybody out there could be here during our breaks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. True. So, you're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, and we're talking with Andrea Kay and Urban Myers on financialnewsandtalk.com. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about my new book, Stop Bleeding Cash.
Okay.
This is the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report. I'm Scott Soshnick. Former Los Angeles Dodgers owner Frank McCourt gave Georgetown University a $100 million gift. It's the largest in school history. The money will endow a new school for public policy that'll bear McCourt's name. It'll incorporate Georgetown's existing graduate program in policy studies and a new data institute. McCourt, a real estate developer, graduated from Georgetown in 1975. He owned the Dodgers from 2003 to 2012, when he sold the baseball club for more than $2 billion to executives from Guggenheim Partners. The team had been in bankruptcy after McCourt's divorce and was sold at auction. Georgetown, a private Jesuit university, was founded in 1789. Graduates include former President Bill Clinton and Paul Tagliabue, a former commissioner of the National Football League. As part of the sale agreement, McCourt still owns half the land around Dodger Stadium. He collects about $5 million a year in rent from the club. That's the Bloomberg Business of Sports Report. I'm Scott Soshnick.
Hi, welcome back to Close Up on San Diego Business, where we get close up and personal with San Diego business and the people that make it happen. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, with my co-hosts Andrea Kay and Urban Myers. We've been listening to Urban's story, and I've known Urban for 20 years, and it just never gets old. So
he's always got a news story too, I bet, huh?
Oh yeah, always something new. So anyway,
he's grinning over there. He's got other stuff he's working on. We know you do, Urban.
Oh, give me a chance. Okay.
Well, we're gonna segue into a little talk about our new book. Okay, it's called Stop Bleeding Cash, and tell me how to stop bleeding cash, because it seems like I can't even walk by Fashion Valley Mall without money
flying out of my purse? How do I stop bleeding cash?
Well,
besides not going to the mall anymore.
That's a long story, but I suggest you read the book.
Okay.
Stop Bleeding Cash is the name of my new book, and it describes the 6 ways that individuals and small business owners lose money without even knowing it. And more importantly, how to stop the bleeding. Are you working so hard for your money that you don't have time to figure out what to do with it? If so, you're not alone. That's how it is for most people. They have a vague sense that they're bleeding cash. And the problem is that they're right. Be it taxes, home loans, credit card debt, healthcare expenses, business expenses, and even insurance premiums. These are the 6 most common bleeding points. And in each of these areas, things are set up to favor the government, the lender, or the service provider. The deck is stacked in their favor, not yours. You work so hard for the money that you earn. Wouldn't it be great to know exactly what to do to stop the bleeding, to shift the situation that you come out ahead, not the IRS, not the insurance company or the bank? Over the course of this book, I hope to show you how to stop the bleeding. I hope to have you say what so many of my new clients have said over the years. Why didn't my advisor tell me that? And it's not because your advisor isn't good or trustworthy or capable. I just want to show you how to think outside the box and find the hidden solutions. That's what this book's all about. For example, if you knew the exact date, I mean the exact date, in advance of when your retirement plan was going to take the biggest hit it'll ever take, would you want to do something about it? Well, obviously you would, and this book will tell you how. And I've written it in such a simple language, anybody can read it in a very short time and get it. Most people who have a lot of cash don't really understand how money works. As a result, they can't plan their financial lives properly. If you don't know how to plan, you're bound to bleed cash. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach you, we're going to have you learn how the institutions know how money works and how you can avoid the pitfalls of poor planning. You can get online, get the book by going on to www.barrywaxler.com or email me at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com and get your copy. Or you can just call my office and we'll get you one. Our toll-free number is 800-341-5433, or just, again, visit my website at barrywaxler.com and get your copy.
Well, Barry, I know I have a lot of friends of mine and family members that are small and mid-sized business owners. And, sometimes I'll be on the phone with them and they'll be like, oh, I'll say, how you doing? Oh, I'm so busy right now. We've got so much business. And I'm like, oh, yay, you're making a lot of money. And they'll say, well, that doesn't mean... just because I'm busy doesn't necessarily mean that I've got a profit or that, I've got money. I don't really even know where I stand financially. And Is that what you're talking about? People that, those people you can help?
There's an old saying that I heard many, many years ago. You have to work smart, not hard. Okay. And working smart is an art all its own. And you can learn in your own business, your own trade, you can learn how to work smart and do things effectively. But how do you learn how to deal with all of these? How does a business owner who knows their trade, how do they learn how to do the administration, the HR services? How do they learn how to, build a retirement plan and do it right? And then they have to manage their employees. And they have to there's such a huge number of things that a small business owner has to learn just to stay in business, just to stay competitive. It's amazing. And what we try to do is we try to teach people the right avenues to take, the right methods to work on, and keep it simple. Because again, Andrea, if you want to succeed at what you do, you have to focus on your trade, your profession. You don't have to focus on this, but you do have to learn how money works so we can teach you the right methods to use while you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, so you allow a business owner to focus on their core competency while partnering with you to make sure that whether it's the insurance or their HR plans and all that they're in the right place for them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Think about it. If you go back into your business over the years, how often do you go in and say, well, this is a great idea. Let me talk to my accountant about it. Okay. And the accountant looks at it, and then you need to talk to your attorney about it. And the attorney goes a different direction. You have to have everybody working on the same page. It's like driving a car. If you have an 8-cylinder car and only 6 cylinders are working, how far are you going to get?
Right.
Okay? So,
and those other individuals, they've got their own individual interest in mind and their own core competency. An accountant, that's his core competency, and the same thing for an attorney. But you kind of are the quarterback almost in a way to manage the team, right?
As you read the book, you'll see more about what I'm talking about. But yes, what we take is break the language down. The attorney has their language, the CPA has their language, the insurance guys have their language, the investment professionals have theirs. We basically take it all and put it on one basic platform. And the more you get to know about how money works, the more you'll see that we get everybody to play on the same table.
And then the more spendability you have with your money.
You'll have more spendability, then you can focus on how to get more rate of return, more return of your capital, more for the future.
Okay. That means more pairs of shoes I can buy?
More pairs of shoes you can buy. So it's
Urban's married. He knows what I'm talking about.
So.
Well, tell me more about this. But I mean, I don't even know how anybody has the courage to sit down and write a book, and then how you get it published. What motivated you to do this? I mean, you're a busy guy with a very successful practice.
Right. Well, I've been in business since 1986. So over the course of time, you learn that when you gain the success or you gain the experiences that you've set out you've sought out, you want to give back. Okay, and over the course of the last several years, I've found that giving back is as important as what I get out of anything. I volunteered to be on Urban's board of directors for Challenged America several years ago, and it's just amazing to see. Urban says it in a joking fashion. Half the time, I feel like I'm very much evidence of what he says. In that, we're the disabled. He's got the advantage. Okay, when you see the people that he works with and what he does, it's great. So my goal with this book was to do the same thing that Urban's been doing for everybody for years. Give back to the community. Gives people something. Everybody, my business is probably the most intimidating business on the face of the earth. People look at it and they say, okay, well, you've got taxes, insurance, mortgage, legal, and all the financial trades. And when they don't know exactly how to do it right, and there is no science to it, there's no one way fits all. It's a complicated thing. So I wanted to take it down, and the interesting part is, and this is what I think many of the listeners want to hear. The book is only 60-some pages. Okay.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because most people sit, I used to do, public seminars, and I was always told when you do a financial seminar, you do a 45-minute seminar, you get in, you get done, you get out, and you're over with it. And, how do you get all the information you want? Well, I learned how to do the same thing, only it was the opposite of this. I did it in 2.5 hours. But it was a function of entertaining the crowd, giving them something rather than that hard, solid focus of finance. When I got to the book, I decided to write the book so everybody could get what they needed, formulate all the questions, all of the things that they need to accomplish out of the book, and they can get in and out of the book within the course of an hour or two and not be lost in the jumble of finance as we know it today.
Right, because it is scary. And and if you're intimidated by money and you're scared and you don't want to think about it because if you think about it, then you got a lot of choices to make, and then people get overwhelmed with choices. And if you give them 600 pages, they're never going to pick it up or read it, or they're never really going to understand it or wrap their heads around it. But 60 pages, anybody can. And it is given back to the community because that's your intellectual property.
Right.
Your knowledge and your expertise, and you're sharing that for free. How, again, can people get a copy of the book?
They can visit our website at www.barrywaxler.com. Call our toll-free number at 1-800-341-5433 or send an email to me personally at bwaxler@barrywaxler.com.
And in the next, we've only got a couple minutes left before we have to go this week, but I want to make sure everybody knows how to tune into our new show, Close Up on San Diego. And if they want to be a guest on the show, how can they be a guest? What types of businesses are we going to be talking to on our show?
We're looking for any type of business that we're looking for any kind of business that is born and raised in San Diego. We want a San Diego flavor here, people that have a story to tell. San Diego is a great city. We are, effectively America's finest city. Well, let's focus on San Diego businesses today. Let's find the people that were, I don't want to say born and raised here, because very few of us are born and raised here. I'm not one.
I'm not either. I'm from New Orleans.
And I'm from Philadelphia, and Urban's from New York. So, let's find those businesses that are trying to make a difference. We want businesses that are making a difference in our community, and we want to talk about them, and we want to get the word out, and we want to help promote local business here in San Diego.
Yeah, so if you want to be a guest on Close Up San Diego, go to Barry's website, barrywaxler.com, and there should be a button on there coming up on the website. So if you want to be a guest, you'll click on that button, and there will even be a questionnaire on there for you to fill out.
Yep, fill out the questionnaire, send it in, and we will contact you and set up a time to get you on air with us live and in person.
Yeah. And Urban, you're going to be back with us every week, aren't you?
You bet.
You're going to have something exciting to share before too long, right? On your next adventure, I hope.
Only if I have to.
Only if you have to?
Yeah.
Well, we'll drag it out of you. We know you've got more coming up in your life. You must.
It's going to be exciting. I look forward to it. And San Diego really needs a show like this. It's too many, over the years, been here so long. Come and go.
Yeah, right. And, San Diego isn't known for necessarily being the most hospitable in terms of starting a business, but clearly San Diegans love to support our businesses here that are San Diego based and headquartered, and we're passionate about entrepreneurs. I am. And so I'm just thrilled and want to say thank you, Barry, for including me in the show, because I'm just super excited about it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business. I'm Barry Waxler, here with Andrea Kay and Urban Mayars on financialnewsandtalk.com. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.